In this video, we are going to talk about evaluating sources for authority. By the end of this video, learners will identify authority in 3 information sources. The information sources we are going to look at today are all on the same topic of AI, or artificial intelligence, and environmental sustainability. The first information source we are going to look at today is titled Generative AI Guzzling Water and Energy by Kate Crawford in 2024. This link is going to bring us to our catalog entry here, for which once it loads, I'm going to select full text availability. This is going to open the full text of this particular information source. Now, I'm seeing immediately off the bat, this is a single page information source, which is making me think that it's not that full text academic article that we could be looking for to meet our own information need. So that, in combination with the fact that it says a personal take on science and society worldview, is making me think that this is an opinion piece. So that's something to consider when evaluating this source to meet your information need. I'm seeing a couple of other things that I want to talk about in the context of authority. We can talk about the author, Kate Crawford. It says Kate Crawford is a professor at the University of Southern California, a senior principal researcher at Microsoft Research, and authored a book in 2021 titled Atlas of AI. That in itself is telling me that this author is authoritative to be talking about this topic. I'm also seeing that it says the author declares competing interests, which I went and followed this link and looked that up. And that outlined that Kate works for both an institution and a company that make generative AI systems. So that's something that I might want to consider, but the fact that it was disclosed up front, it could be a good sign here. I'm also seeing that this particular opinion piece was published in the Journal of Nature. Nature is a very credible or authoritative source, especially in the hard sciences. So that's something I might want to consider when evaluating this source for authority. And one final thing, when we're looking through here, we can see that Kate is linking or using in-text citations, which is then corresponding to the short reference list. Now, I say that this is a short reference list because in comparison to a full text, full scientific article, this looks like a very short reference list. Now, this is not necessarily unheard of when we're talking about opinion pieces or a piece that is as short as this one is. We have links to 4 different articles, which we can see here at the time of publication. 3 of the 4 articles were in the preprint stage. So we might want to go and investigate what those articles look like today when specifically evaluating this source for authority. So now that we've talked about this first information source, let's hop to the second one. Second one is titled The Carbon Emissions of Writing and Illustrating Are Lower for AI Than for Humans. Now, again, I can see something right from the start here. I can see that this is a longer piece. This could be closer to that full text scientific article that we might be looking for. I can also see that this is published in the Journal of Scientific Reports. I can go down and look here, and it is again held within the Nature portfolio of journals. So again, we've already talked about the authority that Nature will hold. So we can keep that in mind when evaluating this source for authority. A couple other things I want to point out here. These authors are listed. Now I can scroll down here and see that these authors work for the Department of Informatics, School of Information Management, Department of Mathematics and Computer Science, School of Law, and School of Management. Now, notably, there's no School of Environmental Sustainability or anything to that effect. And so I might want to go and investigate these authors further to see what credibility or authority they have to be writing specifically on environmental sustainability, as they all do seem quite authoritative or knowledgeable to be writing on the topic of artificial intelligence or information technology. So I can see a couple of other things as we're scrolling through here. I can see that these are in-text citations that the authors are using, which correspond to quite a lengthy list of references. There's about 40 references here. So that could be a good sign when we're evaluating a source for authority, because these authors are relying on quite an extensive group of knowledge from other scholars in the field writing to provide credibility to their own arguments. So that's something that I might want to consider when evaluating the source for authority. Something I did want to point out here is this competing interest statement. It says AT, who is one of the authors, owns stock in this particular stock, which I went and looked up. This stock is in a company which is self-titled to be the world leader of AI computing. So that's something that I might want to consider when specifically talking about bias and the considerations that we might think about when evaluating a source for bias. So now that we have gone through that, I did just want to point out that I got to this next link by selecting this DOI, and it's going to bring us to the original publication in the journal. And so here is the same article that we were looking at originally, but it just has a couple of other things that I wanted to point out here. It does say how many times this article has been accessed, as well as how many citations. So citations would be how many times other scholars in the field have cited this article. Now that's something I might want to consider. In what context was this cited? And I might go and find those other articles if maybe I'm trying to find related scholarship as well. So now that we've looked at this second information source, let's jump forward to the third and final source here. This information source is titled The Environmental Sustainability of Digital Technologies, Stakeholder Practices and Perspectives. So I can again see a few things right off the bat here. I can see that this is a more long or lengthy information source. This could be closer to that full text information source we might be looking for to meet our information need. I can see that this article has been published in the Journal of Sustainability, which I went and looked up is a peer-reviewed open access journal. So that's something that I might want to consider when evaluating the source for authority. I wanted to point out something else here because while we have the authors and their affiliations right here on the first page, this green dot, this ORCID ID is what it's actually called, is going to link you to a digital CV. So an ORCID ID is an online profile that authors can create and then keep up to date. So those authors have provided their ORCID IDs, so then you can go and find their full digital CV here or their online profile. So you can see on this ORCID ID, it has the biography, employment, education and qualifications, funding, works, etc. So these works are authored by the same authors, by the same author that was initially listed. And so that's something that I just wanted to point it out because it does provide a lot more information than just particularly what institution they currently work for, as would be listed on the first page of that full text information source. A couple other things I wanted to point to. Again, we can scroll through here to see that, again, these authors are linking to quite a lengthy list of references again to provide credibility or context to their own arguments. So that could be a really good sign when we're evaluating a source for authority. I can also see there's no conflicts of interest listed. And I did want to point, and again, I got to this next link through the DOI of this article. And again, I can see just a little bit more information that I wanted to point out. I can see that this article belongs to a special issue of Towards the Sustainability of AI, Multidisciplinary Approaches to Investigate the Hidden Costs of AI. That's something that I might want to consider here when specifically thinking about the context of this article, what they're arguing. So just to consider that. And then also I can see how many times this article has been viewed and cited by other scholars in the field. So now that we've talked about all of that, let's hop back over to the PowerPoint. So we've talked about all three information sources here, and we've come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any more questions, please reach out to us here at the library.